Hello, this is Vince from the future here. A week or so after this video was recorded, this podcast with Guy of Midwinter Minis. I'm preloading this episode 3 of the War Room podcast, both audibly and visually, with this message that the audio isn't as good as it was in episode 1, 2, or will be in 4. There were some serious issues, all from my side. Somebody didn't split the tracks on the master backup track, and then when I lost the audio for myself because my computer fried the file, I was left with, well, this. That took me 2 hours, maybe more, to edit together. Either way, I'm just letting you know the audio isn't terrible, and I think the conversations had were still pretty good and worth putting out. But I'm just warning you that it's not quite the quality it was in episode 2, or it will be in episode 4. Either way, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and all that stuff. Anyway, on with the episode. Hello, and welcome back to the War Room podcast, which is not good for SEO, I found out this week. I'm Vince, also known as Pleasant Kenobi on the internet, and I'm joined by a new guest, someone I've never had on either of my channels before. It's Guy of Midwinter
Minis.
Wow, we've got straight into me not being able to pronounce words. Good morning, Guy. How are you doing?
Good morning. I am going to be honest with you. I'm a tiny little bit hungover. We had a game night last night.
What did you play?
It was mostly a chat night because like loads of people in our little group have got stuff that's going on that we were like having chats about and like giving each other advice and things. But we did have a few games of Cards Against Humanity, which is always a treat.
Yeah, nice and relaxed and breaking the ice and so on.
Yeah, I'm slightly hungover. I had some rum, which I don't usually have.
Was that how heavy of a philosophizing night it was that you had to get on the hard liquor?
I mean, there's usually some liquor involved in games nights.
What is your typical of choice? If rum is not your choice,
it's whiskey. It's Scotch whiskey. I lived in Scotland for 14 years, so I have a very
so you've been acclimatized to their local tipple.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you a fan of the very popular, the very trendy right now, old fashioned?
Yeah, I love an old-fashioned. It's great. I've enjoyed old-fashions for a long time. They're really nice.
Yeah, an American export. Like, I don't feel like we had them for a while, and then I knew a lot of Americans that drank them, and suddenly they're everywhere. I think Weatherspoons might even do an old-fashioned now, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, if you get an old-fashioned without the bourbon, if you get it done with just a regular whiskey without the kind of sweetness of the bourbon, I don't have an overly sweet tooth.
That sounds worse.
Quite dark bit of like, yeah, I know. But
like the sweetness is what would draw me in. You're like, if you remove the only good bit.
Yeah, but you add the sweetness to it. We've gone straight, hey, yo, welcome to this thing about like tabletop things. We're going to talk about booze.
I mean, this is something people should be used to with my content, is that I'm not very good at staying on piece or being organised. So on that note then, we'll do a bit of a ramble. If you like the podcast, don't forget to fucking like it and share it. If you listen to it on
We're swearing.
This might show how little Guy is perhaps familiar with how I am on the internet. Yeah, we're swearing like straight up. I mean, I think we're a minute out now, so I think by official guidelines I can monetize this, so we can say fuck, shit, and bollocks all you want.
Oh Jesus, my mum watches everything I do though, and she's really proud of me that I don't swear on camera.
Because you don't swear, do you? I don't think I've ever. I heard you say one naughty word before we turned the cameras on. And I was like, I don't think I've ever heard him swear before. Because I only
occasionally on live streams, but like. If it's in video, I'll.
So if your mum sees this, like algorithmically, it shows her your face or whatever, and gives this to her, and she hears me swearing, is she now going to be already disappointed, or is she now sat like? But I'm not going to say. But is your mother's butt cheeks clenched as she waits for you to swear?
No. I mean, I might swear. I've sworn in front of my mum.
Don't feel pressured to. Like, it's not that kind of show where I force you to do things that I do and you don't.
I mean, you've already spoken about my mother's butt cheeks, so, I feel like...
I stopped myself, but I said the word butt, and I had to... Like, people in the comment section are knowing that that's where I was going, and I was like, do I say that? Do I not say that? So, if you like it, and if you listen to this on a Spotify or audio platform, please let me know, because no one else seems to, and it's good to know if it's actually getting out there onto those platforms and people are actually seeing it. And towards the end of the podcast, we'll actually have a couple of questions from like viewers as well. I've got people can introduce them on the Patreon. So if you're part of my Patreon, you can ask questions that I will ask of guests. You don't get to pick your guest, so you're lucky if you get Guy, you'll be lucky if you get the next guest. It's just like seemingly random.
Oh, you don't get to say you don't want that guest either. I think.
No, they could absolutely hate you. Yeah. They could be a bolt action player, Guy, and then they get you answering their question. We'll come to that more a bit later.
I'd love to, yeah.
In the meantime, this is the normal thing we do, the typical thing for a tabletop podcast. What have you been playing or hobbying with recently? What have you been doing?
Not much playing. I've been doing a lot of painting and making.
That counts. This is not a podcast about just playing.
Yeah, I've recently repainted probably my most famous model, which is the butthole tank. You know, the Landrussi.
Yes, the Landrussi. Yes. Would you say that's your most famous? Do you think that's more famous than Sandstone Necrones?
Well, so like that one video has had 1 million views now, which is
really. I had no idea, but
yeah. No, I didn't really either until because YouTube like send the like, the YouTube thing sends you. It's like, wow, well done. This video hit 1 million views, and I'm like,
what the fuck? People are hungry for the Landrussi.
Yeah. I know, right? So
where does Sandstone Necrones sit by comparison?
I think that video is probably on about 500,000 views. I'd need to check. It's like
that's crazy. Like,
yeah, that was my first ever video though, so that's
humble brags there, right? When your first video does that well. This is for people at home as well. This is going to be part of the podcast. Is we're probably going to talk quite a bit about content creation, which is something I haven't talked about on this side of the. I talk about it on the Magic side all the time, but I heard about the Warhammer side. So, what about your current ongoing project to build a giant, great unclean one? How far along are you up with that one?
We've started to like put actual clay and sculpting materials on, and we're shaping the parts of it. So we're like giving it big, horrible boobs with mouths for nipples.
And the biggest arse crack you've ever seen.
It's almost human size.
It's like, if you look at scale to scenery, it's larger than most cathedrals within the 40k like canon.
Yeah,
it's got a huge arsehole. So what's your plans for it once it's built? Are you gonna
Well, so the story behind it, right, was there was a month, I can't remember if it was February, I think it might have been February, where like with the video schedule, to wind back a tiny bit, the way Hattie and I work essentially is because we have a very similar skill set. We kind of like just sharesies on pretty much everything, right?
Sure.
So there might be some times or some videos in the schedule where it's like, well, that's kind of Hattie can just do that by herself, or like it's like Hattie doesn't need to be involved. I'll just do that by myself, and we'll work on other things while the other person's working on that. And we'll either edit it together, or sometimes we edit each other's videos, or sometimes we edit our own videos, whatever. So in February, it was kind of, so I was like, right, Hattie, while I'm doing stuff for this month, it was looking that way. Why don't you on your own build a great unclean one the size of a Titan? And she was like, that sounds like a big ask. That's like a big project. I was like, yeah, you got a whole month to do it. You could do it. Just like
video.
You've skipped a bit though. Where did that concept come from? Why did you start doing a great unclean one specifically?
People love big builds. People love big things, and it's a big silly thing. Custom models, big things.
But hypothetically, why not a Stomper? Why not a Corn Berserker?
Hattie has already built like 5 custom Great Unclean ones. Not necessarily all on the channel, but she's built like a Easter Bunny one. She's built a Halloween pumpkin.
Yeah,
one.
the Nightmare Before Christmas one, the Oogie Boogie one's like semi-famous, right?
And she's done some test things as well. So she's got a lot of experience with that kit. And I was like, well, why don't we combine like my Titan stuff into your... Ooh, just bonked the microphone. So sorry, everyone. I'll edit that out.
Or I'll edit it out or forget. One of the two. Who knows?
Forget.
You'll probably forget. Yeah, combine Titan stuff, Great Unclean One stuff. Make a big Great Unclean One.
So is it the same size as the Titan? The Titan's, is that the Titan behind you, or is that the Titanicus one?
It is.
That is one. Because it looks small because of the distance. It looks...
It's far away.
I'm sorry for listening to some audio as we reference things in the background. Yeah. So is it as tall as that Titan? Is it? Or was it?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So you're gonna
and as bulky. It's like wide at the bottom.
Have you thought about asking any of the Titan Walk people? The ones who play all the Titans off against each other at like events, seeing if they'll let you come in with a custom rule set and play a Great Unclean One on the Titan Walk?
I don't know. I haven't. I still need to actually. Every time I go to an event and they're there, I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Like, what do I have to do to get my Titan along? And they're like, just sign up to our club because you need the your number of the Titan and whatever. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then every time I forget to do that, and then I see them again, I'm like, oh, I need to.
I asked them last time if I could bring like a whole load of stock because I have no orc representation there, right? I was like, if I build and paint like 5 stompers, can I show up with 5 stompers? And they were like, yeah, I guess.
Their Titan Walk stuff, I think, is Horus Heresy.
Yeah, they weren't that keen. They were being nice, I think, when they were like, sure. They're like, well, who's this orc dickhead?
Yeah, were you standing there with a camera? And they were like, yeah.
No, I didn't have a camera. I don't think they knew who I was. Like, I go a little bit incognito in the Warhammer space because it's like,
don't you know who I am?
Yeah, that's how I got the yes. When they said no, I was like, excuse me? This is going right on Reddit as Reddit drama. So why did you repaint, to go back to that Land Rusty then, why have you repainted it? Is that for a video or is that?
Yeah, for a competition. Well, did it for the Salute painting competition.
How'd you do?
This video is probably going to be out today, so, or maybe tomorrow. But well, how did I do?
So this podcast won't be out for at least another week, maybe two, because they're like 2 weeks later.
Okay.
Well, I don't want to spoil it if you haven't watched the video, but if you've watched the video, you'll know I didn't place after spending a lot more time on it. And even people who are exceptionally talented miniature painters, far more talented than I am, didn't place either. Like Steve, who won almost every award last year, won nothing, didn't even get a commended card or whatever it is.
Was the quality of the like average submission higher this year? Was it like really high?
There were some very, very good entries. Darren Latham entered several pieces and won several awards. So, because it's not a Games Workshop competition, you know.
Yeah.
So people like that who are exceptionally talented can flourish. Do you know what I mean? Because they're not constrained by appeasing their employer.
Yeah. Well. Or appeasing their patrons. That's what we're going to talk about later on. But I guess. Oh, hey, I should say what I've been doing. I got some 3D printed mega knobs. There you go.
Yeah, cool.
Where I'm at. I'm up to 16 mega knobs now. They're not all painted, and I've got I'm meant to play a game tonight. And I haven't got my battle wagon built, so I might be spending like 3 hours this afternoon speed building a battle wagon. So we'll see.
Vince 16 Mega Knob Pleasant Kenobi.
Yes, that's it. I'm metagame chasing, right? Because it's literally the new book makes mecha knobs better than they were. And I'm like, okay, I'll build. But I didn't build the GW ones. It would cost me like several £100 to buy all the GW kits. So I'm on some Station Forge 3D printing.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I'm in a bit of a hobby dilemma, right? Because I have a big painted orc army. But the new orcs that are coming out just are like visually incompatible with the stuff I already have.
What have you got? You've got like second edition classic stuff, right?
Yeah, I've got second edition and like Assault on Black Reach, all of the stuff. Basically, all of my boys are on 25mm bases, right?
Sure.
And all of the new stuff is like bigger, it's chunkier, and if I have them side by side, it looks stupid.
But I like that in that army specifically, though. So I'm also old school. That's how I come to find your content, right? It was like I watched your video about second edition, the art you got literally behind your head. So that's the second edition box set is absolutely how I started Warhammer, and I'm so fond of it. So I've got some second edition boys that I haven't painted yet. I've got some Space Crusade boys that I haven't painted yet, and they're all just going to be in my boy squads. Mix and match. I don't care. I've got Gorka Morka orcs, and some of those are like in the game they were called like baby orcs. So they look a bit like goblins. They're just mixed in with my boy squads. So orcs, I think, are the only army in the game where you can truly get away with the most nonsensical match shit you can imagine. But the base sizes matter a little bit, I guess. But if you're not playing at a tournament, who cares? You know.
Yeah, I also I'm not a huge fan of the aesthetic of
the beast snagger boys.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it either. I don't know. The kill rig is an incredible model. That's probably the one bit that I am impressed. And I guess both of the Squig bosses, they are incredible models. And the Squig Hog boys. Okay, so it's just the boys. It's just the Beast Snagger boys that I'm not that keen on. Because the classic boys, they have so much character and there's such a variety of sculpts. Like I said, you can mix and match them. And then you have this like almost like uniform look of the new ones, which doesn't make sense because they should all look unique and bespoke, and I can't bother to remodel them all to like. So I'm with you on that. But the new book has a detachment. I don't know if you know, where you can bring normal boys and they get loads of buffs. So you're not meant to bring anything else but boys. So you bring 120 boys, 120 second edition boys. Guy, can I interest you in that? And they get buffs.
I've got how many have I got? I've got 20. Wait, no. How many are painted? 22nd edition boys.
That's one squad then. So you got 5 more to go.
And I've got another 90 like contemporary boys painted.
By contemporary, do you mean not quite contemporary now, right? Because don't forget, there's a easy to build push fit.
I just mean like grimdark style. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, and I've got two squads of unbuilt.
Oh,
of
shit.
The new ones.
So you mean your boys are not only are they mismatching in like model identity and like the aesthetic of the sculpt, you've actually painted the original ones in like goblin green bases, haven't you? Yeah. I think that's kind of funny though, if you rock up and half your army is on goblin green and the other half is not. Especially if you're orcs. Again, they can get away with it.
I feel like, I don't know, I'm kind of almost like I don't know if I've even told anyone this, Vince. I feel like I'm at a bit of a crossroads because like I feel the more and more editions come out of Warhammer since I kind of got back into it, and the more the rules have changed, and the more the veil kind of drops, that it's really just about buying more toys and not about playing a more enjoyable game.
Absolutely.
My feeling is that I want to, I don't know, either like reinvent second edition, make it slightly simpler, and just kind of like play smaller skirmish games that are a bit more what's the word, granular is a good word, or nothing is like less appealing to me than playing a 2,000 point Warhammer 40,000 game.
Really?
No.
So, but that sounds so. There's a lot to unpack there. Firstly, thank you for sharing that with us here on this podcast. Right. I feel like I'm like a fucking, like, talk show host when people come on and have an admission about like their personal lives. Thank you, guys. Thank you for sharing that here. Secondly, it does sound.
Do I get to speak to a therapist after the show?
Yeah, we've got one on staff actually. It's just me in a trench coat. So, but it also sounds like there's a few things. So, one, there's some clambering for retro nostalgia, which I absolutely like find fascinating, and also in that camp. Like, I've thought about just starting an army that is aimed at being retro. So we're talking like Orange Blood Angels or whatever, like, the proper retro paint schemes, retro bases, with the plan of playing them either for a laugh in the modern games that look so jarring to the other player's army, or playing them in second edition or third edition or whatever. Like you hinted at though, second edition as a rule system is just fucking awful. So you'd have to somehow adjust it. But the other bit you mentioned is skirmishing and how you don't want to play 2,000 points. So it sounds like you do just want to play smaller game systems, right? That's an inherent problem with Warhammer. There's that it's always geared towards army versus army. And I kind of love that. I love seeing shit tons of stuff on the table, but it does become unmanageable, especially as the editions become more complicated. Although arguably they fixed that with the rules being more simplified recently.
I feel like there was a real moment where there was a potential for it to be great, and especially with the start collecting boxes and the kind of the way they were phased out into the combat patrols, and combat patrol was introduced as a method of gaming as well. I feel like that stripped out a lot of what is fun about playing Warhammer, which is building your own little army.
Absolutely. I mean? That's why I'm not interested in combat patrol. The idea of playing their it's like in Magic, you play a pre-con deck. You could buy a deck and do no modification to it. Like, that's part of the appeal, is the customization element. Absolutely.
Yeah, sure. And I get that, it's the same thing happens in like motorsports, right? I've forgotten what like division or whatever it is, but there's like the stock car stuff where each car is the same and the drivers don't really get to choose their cars. There's something like that, isn't there? And in some
ways that's good because it's
the driver, not the car.
Exactly. It removes that whole thing of the teams having better tech and stuff like that, and more money and so on.
But are people playing that size of game concerned about like being the best gamer, or do they just want to have a bit of fun? Do you know what I mean? And like build their silly little army that's ridiculous.
It's an interesting point you made, because the 500 point system of so obviously, just to unpack something for people at home who are real casual and don't know what the fuck we're talking about. So like combat patrols, your 500 point boxes, in theory, that some of them are more, some of them are less, and you buy them, and currently you can play them against each other in the combat patrol mode, which they've gone to quite interesting lengths of adjusting the sheets within the box so that they are more balanced against each other, because some of these armies, like the box of custodians, should absolutely destroy everything else if they don't adjust the characters and similar. And they're doing it real much right now. They announced yesterday, as of recording, for AOS, that Spearhead is like their focus for like intro to Age of Sigmar, where you buy a Spearhead box, which is basically just combat patrol with a different name. But what you're mentioning is how, and I agree with you, it's fucking boring to buy a box and not get to change it in any way, shape, or form. Not take a war gear choice, not take a wall of trait, not just change out a unit. But the problem with the whole system of Warhammer is that it's all scaled to 2,000 points. So at 2,000 points, it becomes nearly balanced. Warhammer's never balanced. But like at 500 points, some units are just like I did a 500 point tournament back when I first got into playing tournaments at my local. I took a Great Unclean one, 3 Nurgling bases, and a Demon Prince, and nothing anyone else bought could kill my Great Unclean one at that point total because everyone had loads of troops. The Great Unclean one was just unkillable. And one person had a Lehman Russ that did like half its wounds, then I killed it and healed. It was like ridiculous because the game doesn't scale down to those points. So having something that does would be. But then surely there's an argument that skirmish games just do that for you anyway. Like you got your war game, you got your skirmish game.
Yes. I feel like when Kill Team was introduced as well, using a completely different rule set, like very far removed, different phases, different everything. Do you know what I mean? I feel like that was a bit of a...
How do you feel about Kill Team? Do you like it?
Not.
I haven't played... I mean, my first impression is no. I haven't played enough games of it to really give it an honest crack of the whip. I've only played like 4 or 5 games. But then if I haven't enjoyed myself after playing 4 or 5 games, maybe it's not for me.
No. Some TV series you've got to get through 3 seasons before it gets good, guys. So,
Sure, yeah.
With Warhammer, you've got to spend 30 hours learning your army and your opponents before.
I don't really watch TV. That's the problem.
Yeah, I'm being facetious. I don't agree with that argument at all. And I'm the one that does it. I'm like, Warhammer's quite quick once you know all the rules and how your army works. And then I'm like, but that's already like tens of hours of investment before, not including building and painting. So I know I'm a hypocrite for not liking that argument but still using it. But
the most fun I've ever had playing a tabletop war game repeatedly was old retro, like a Necromunda, old Necromunda, the 90s version. Just because it's funny and it's fun and like things go wrong and it's just like it's really easy to get immersed in it. And nothing is too strong, nothing is too weak, and you can like carve out fun little stories with it. And the rules are basically 2nd edition Warhammer rules, but it works on that scale. It works when you have like between 5 and 10 models each. When you have squads and and you start getting vehicles involved, because Jesus,
that's where I think the game really breaks down. 2nd edition, yeah.
Awful. I mean,
Firing arcs. So for people who don't know, there's firing arcs. There's like different armor platings for different sides. There's arguments between you and your opponent as to which side you're trying to hit at a certain angle, depending on where you can draw a line of sight. Then there's damage tables. Yeah, so you've rolled a dice, and sometimes you randomly kill the pilot. And in some vehicles, that means the vehicle just rolls around randomly. Other vehicles stop. You can blow off one sponson, but not the other. Like it is absolutely. It's fun from an RPG perspective, which you've got to remember. Rogue Trader in 2nd edition was still trying to be like an RPG, but as a war game where you want to at least have a winner at the end of it and stuff, having like this amount of randomization doesn't really make sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but when that kind of randomization is in a skirmish game with infantry, it's you have somebody, or you also have like the post-game admin part, which is almost just, for me, it's almost just as fun as actually playing the game. Because you're like rolling off on these things to see what happened to the person that fell off the the building, and you're like, oh, they broke their leg and now they're -1 movement for the rest of their lives. And then in a couple of games time you might roll for the trading post, and they'd be like, they've got a bionic leg, and you'd be like, oh, I could buy this bionic leg for my man who's got the sound.
I think that stuff, I love that stuff. So you get it in Blood Bowl, you get it in Necromunda, all that like progressive camp. It's what Crusade tries to be in 40k. The problem I've got is that building, painting, and playing the game of Warhammer or any tabletop game itself, it's already complicated enough. Once you give me spreadsheets and fucking things to maintain afterwards, it becomes like, we played a Crusade on my Discord and I just got bored. I got bored of trying to figure out how to do it. And the main problem is there's no fucking tools. Like it's 2024. How can you release this shit without an app? Like, why is there not an app to track my Necromunda gang or my Mordheim gang? If they relaunched Mordheim and did it with an app that went alongside it and managed your teams and did your randomization for you, because then you couldn't cheat either, right? Because you could have like timestamp stuff, so when you click the randomization table, it does break your guy's leg and you can't re-roll it and shit. I think that'd be great. Like, I would be all into that. But
yeah, I absolutely would as well. But alas, we're not here.
Here's a pitch for you.
Yes.
So we have a Mordheim, a Necromunda, or a Blood Bowl style game. You have a small skirmish team that do a thing, right? The setting itself is not important for the concept that I'm giving you. Then we have an app, which is not easy to make, but you get like a development team. Your Games Workshops, you have a little bit of money, so you can do this, right? You and I might struggle with this, but Games Workshop would not.
You'd be surprised.
Yeah, well, yeah. Sorry, no, they shouldn't struggle. Not, I mean, they struggled to make an app for Warhammer 40k. Remember all the app issues a couple of years ago? Anyway.
Well, that was because they put the events team on the app.
Yeah, they put the
During the pandemic when there were no events.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, look, this is corporate mismanagement to a T. Look at Lorcana right now. They're a company who has not hired anyone who's ever ran a card game organized play, and they're trying to organize play. Like, hire the people that know. Anyway. So our app guy is basically roguelike. We're talking Slay the Spire. We're talking like Darkest Dungeon. We're talking all those kinds of things. And it integrates into your games. So you enter who got injured, who didn't get injured at the end of the game into your app, and then it randomizes your stuff, like the next dungeon room, the next trading post interaction. And it does it in some sort of Slay the Spire-esque roguelike element that ends up changing the stats that are then saved on the app. So you don't have to change these with a pen and paper. And now we're in 2024, and we're playing a roguelike skirmish game weekly at our game store. Wouldn't that be dope?
I'm sold. Well, and everyone joins a session on their phone, and you have the stats for
your character and the things that you're interacting with.
And you can literally click into the session and click any one of the other 12 people in the league and see their team. Hell, it can even ping you at like the weekly it could do a weekly update. So once everyone's played their games, you do all of your stuff, and like you've all agreed that Thursday's your update, you get a push notification, you click it, and you get to see that Bob from Tom's team has lost his leg to an alligator fight or whatever. It's like, and it could show you the highlights. It'd be so good. I'd be all over it.
Yeah. Let's start a games company.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's fucking do it. I've always thought like one day part of the end goal would be to do some sort of game design, but fuck knows.
I'm working on a couple of things in the background that I think would be really fun. But as soon as you say the things out loud,
yes,
I'm not saying like they happen elsewhere, but like I'd rather just keep.
Well, I've just thrown that idea out into the ether, and to be fair, if some fucker picks that up and does it, great, because I'm probably never going to.
Play it, yeah.
Exactly. But the other thing as well is like promises and not delivering. Like you don't want to say shit and then never ever get there. Like there's that, right? And I'm like that all the time. Like, I want to do X video or Y video, and then when it doesn't come to fruition, we're like, I thought you were gonna do X, Y, or yeah. So
yeah, I've done that in videos before because I've been like on the absolute cusp of doing something with. I'm probably like the only like main. I don't know, what would you call me? Like one of the main Warhammer or tabletop content creators who do a mix of everything, a bit of painting, a bit of playing.
Generalists.
Generalist. That's lovely. The main one of those who hasn't had like a brand sponsorship or, in terms of a hobby brand or released a hobby product. I've had several that I've been working on, and I had basically a paint range that never happened because...
Is this another scoop?
Sure, I said I'll be honest.
Yeah, let's go.
I had 2 paint ranges that I just wasn't happy with the final product, and I didn't want to put out something that...
That's admirable.
Absolutely, this is 100% what I would recommend. And paintbrushes that I was like, this just isn't the quality that I want, and so I didn't go ahead with it.
This video, by the way,
four things right now that I'm like exceptionally happy with the quality of, and might happen this year. So I'm like, oh my god.
This podcast is going to be titled. This episode is going to be titled "Midwinter Minis Failed Paint Project." That's what it's going to be.
Yeah,
that's the clicks, right? That's the clicks. Yeah. But that's fascinating.
Real failure. Yeah.
So here's questions for some background for people who aren't familiar with you or aren't familiar with your story. You mentioned about being full-time and everything, and you're one of the main hobby generalists who hasn't got a product yet. How long have you been full-time?
Since February 2021.
So post-COVID.
Wait. No. February 2020.
That's in the middle of COVID, right?
Yeah, it was like just before the first lockdown, yeah.
Oh, you went full-time before the first lockdown?
Very fortuitous timing.
Huh. Because I came across you, or discovered you, shall we say, because I wasn't into 40k at that point. I've been in it 3 or 4 years. I can go back and find my first video or whatever. But it's during lockdown. My hair is awful in the videos that I'm talking about it. I haven't shaved. We're all just disheveled and a wreck because we don't know what's happening to the world. And I'm there like, look at my cool box dreadnought that I painted. And then I came across your stuff. That's how I came to find your things. But I guess then I might have discovered you as if like you were just a small thing. But yeah, you might have been full-time before I even came across your stuff then. From the sounds of things. Were you full-time when you did the second edition video?
No.
Okay.
I think that was...
So I think that was fresh.
I did that in... That was like August 2019, I think. It was just after my dad died. That's why I remember that, like the.
I remember that's part of like the video, right? Which is,
I think that's
yeah.
I think that's like one of the main reasons it kind of struck a chord with people, is because it was just very relatable and like thing that you used to like when you were younger, and things seemed like nicer then, and parents were alive, and and people were like, huh. Yeah, I think I'm just going to watch this for 10 minutes, and while I think...
In the grim darkness of the present day, there is only nostalgia. Like,
yeah. Well, that's a big draw, isn't it? But that's just life.
do you reckon? I'm just not going to dwell on that because it's. What you're saying is very honest and true and upfront, but also I'm not going to dwell on my own stories of my own parents and stuff because it's just been a bit of a miserable experience for the viewer and the listener. Oh, do you think lockdown was good for you? Like, do you think the boom of Warhammer and people picking up paintbrushes was good for you?
And it was very good for the channel. Whether or not it was good for me is.
That's just an interesting response. Like, the channel.
Well, I'm not the channel. Do you know what I mean? The channel.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Okay. I'm picking up what you're putting down now. I think.
Yeah.
Go on. What do you mean by not good for you? You meant lockdown?
I think in general that it was awful for everyone.
Okay.
And I think everyone is still suffering from it, and not just, because we were trapped.
Right. Yeah.
But because of no matter what side you were on the things that happened during that time, the like tribalism and really like nasty elements that were brought out in everyone, not just one side or the other, that like still exist and are just really negative, and I would personally say absolutely unnecessary. Like, people are just people. I think people should be more accepting of each other and each other's viewpoints, and not be so violently opposed to people
having
I think I think with COVID it kind of brought to the forefront of like that people felt like, and arguably it was like an existential threat in terms of like not only killing human beings but also like changing the way the world worked. So that was that, I think, draws harder battle lines than the average thing, where like
it's a really difficult thing as well, because it's like an unprecedented thing that people have, like, in living memory, really have never dealt with before in like Western countries, and it kind of like brought out a lot of ugliness in lots of ways in almost everyone, and it's not a time that I would like to
see happen again.
No, exactly. Absolutely.
But like a personal point of view, not great. But for the channel, obviously, everyone was stuck inside and everyone was painting models.
Yeah, my reaction.
Myself inside.
My reaction to you saying that was more so that because I was coming from a different perspective to what you were. You thought very personally. I was thinking just about content at that point. So I asked the question: was it good for you? As in, like. Business-wise, and you were like, "Oh, it was good business-wise, but not for me." And then my thought when I made that noise was like, "Oh, are you saying that you kind of regret the channel getting to the size it did, or something?" I thought it was like some profoundly upset statement about being a social media influencer, but in reality, it was you were being introspective about how shit lockdown was on a personal level, which is very fair.
Both is true. Like there are huge downsides to which I'm sure we'll talk about in a moment when we talk about that video. There are huge downsides to being a known person.
Yes. Yeah, I've had trials and tribulations literally this week. Yeah, because you're expected to be. Yeah, well, there's a whole lot. We'll talk more about that as we get to that. Then I guess we can get to that now, because I found this fascinating. I thought this was super interesting because I've always been on this.
Wait, hold on.
Go on.
I just want to wind
slightly, because even though you were saying, you like discovered my channel at whatever point, you were one of my first Patreon supporters.
Was I really?
I think you were in like the first 100.
Huh.
Which is pretty.
There you go. I guess I come from a very, very specific type of people, though, where I'm like, I believe patronage is important because part of my life is also supplied by patrons, right? So I'm deeply in that ecosystem, if you will, or that mindset.
And it's a really interesting position that people can be in now, where like 100 years ago or 200 years ago, to be a patron of the arts, you'd have to like commission an artist to paint something, or like commission a composer to compose you a piece of music, and that was very expensive. But now you can be a patron of the arts for like £2 a month.
Yes.
Support people.
I'm laughing because I don't see myself as an artist. I wish I did. But I think I'm a creative person, and I also think art can exist in many forms, but often me making piss and shit jokes and then moaning about card games is, I don't know.
You're a video editor. You're
a
camera operator. You're all these things that would have been individual jobs back in the day.
I would be saying the exact same things you were saying. It's probably an issue of being, it's a personal issue I have with myself more so than, I think all creators are artists to some extent. Just when it comes to saying I am an artist, I just, I like feel a little bit uncomfortable saying that statement.
You've got to have the comfortable mindset.
Yeah, exactly. Have you seen the meme format where like it's normally a talking point of grifters on the right wing, but they'll post like a tweet and it'll have a picture of like the most incredible marble statue you've ever seen from like the 1700s, and they'll be like, why can't we do that today? And all the responses are, because it's engagement bait, like, because no one is living for 17 years studying marble construction, sculpting with one singular expensive patron, because that's true, that's not like how it works anymore. And like when you're saying then one person would often commission the art, that's what I was thinking of. It's like, it's similar. Instead of people crowdsourcing together marble sculptures, people are crowdsourcing together bread tube philosophical essays about Deus Ex Mechanica or is Fallout New Vegas actually good? That sort of stuff,
Well, as if you need a research to know that the answer to that is absolutely yes.
You say this, but how many people released video essays on New Vegas in the last 2 years? It's like, it must be the most video essayed video game ever. And like,
how many have I watched? All of them.
Yeah, exactly. I would say about time investment to war games. I've watched 20 hours of New Vegas video essays at this point. I mean, I could have learned Crisis Protocol in that time.
Could have learned another language, to be honest.
Yeah, other languages are overrated, right? War games are languages. I've said this about Magic before, because you can play Magic without knowing the other person's language. You absolutely fucking cannot do that for Warhammer. Like, trying to play Warhammer with someone who doesn't speak the same language as you, virtually impossible.
I never thought that Magic is like a pretty good international game.
Yeah, because cards, well, up until more than the last 5 years, cards just do what they say, right? So as long as you've got access to the other, either they know the card or they've got the language on their phone of the card, you can just play. I've played against people who don't speak a word of English. I've never done that in Warhammer, and probably never will, because Warhammer requires so much conversation and talking and explaining and transparency. On the topic of other game systems then, so you made a video a little while back. So it was such a good video in terms of like its concept, or at least provocation, but like I think I hadn't watched a video of yours for like a month or so, because I thought in and out of watching stuff, and I clicked that one in a heartbeat and watched it. So do you want to explain what the video's concept was for the viewers at home?
Are you talking about the bolt action?
Oh yeah, I'm talking about the bolt action one. You know what I'm talking about. You're smiling like you know what I'm talking about.
Okay. So I was going away for a week. I'll give you context. I was going away for a week, and I was like, do you know what? I've had this like thought in my head for a while of why I don't think I personally am that interested in playing historical war games, but I just can't like put it into words. And I think it is that I just feel like stuff that's based on real life, no matter who you're playing and what you're doing, it just doesn't really appeal to me, because things really happen. So, like, for context, I come from the island of Jersey. Jersey was occupied in the Second World War. It was Nazi occupation. It had.
I did not know that.
Several bases. The castles that are on the island, there's like 2 castles. They were retrofitted with like anti-aircraft guns, so they're like now the coolest castles in the world, because they're medieval castles with massive cannons sticking out of them. So there's like dark history and a lot of like personal attachment to the Second World War, because I was brought up knowing and learning quite a lot about it, and quite a lot about the effect it had on the island where I was born, and a lot of dark stuff. And I just thought, it doesn't really feel for me. And looking at the popularity of fantasy things compared to stuff based in reality, like ball action, I just thought, well, maybe that's the reason. Maybe that's the reason why. Because, Bolt Action is, on paper, it's a better game. The people that play it are like, it's a better game. It's written by the same people that made, the older editions of Warhammer. It's cheaper to get into. The stuff's easier to paint. There's so much going for it, right? And people say about the Warhammer lore being like, it's 1,000 novels. Wow, it's so immersive. There's like a billion documentaries about the Second World War. Do you know what I mean? The lore is there because it's real. And just maybe that might be the reason. And then so I was like, right, maybe I'll speak about that in a video. Not necessarily give my opinions, but just say like, some people might feel this. And maybe that's the reason why this is the case. And maybe if it was, based on not reality, maybe it would
be more popular. Or maybe
so in the video, did you explicitly? Because the thing, I'm thinking back and thinking you did explicitly say it's a little bit uncomfortable spending a lot of time painting Nazis. Did you actually say anything to that effect, or was it actually kind of extrapolated really from your point?
This has all been extrapolated, I think. If you actually go back and watch the video, at the very start, I kind of say, just want to very clearly say, I'm not saying anybody who plays and collects, the Nazis is a Nazi. Do you know? I'm not saying that. I'm just saying maybe it might make players feel a bit uncomfortable, and that's the reason why it's not popular, right? And then I kind of like go into various things about kind of like going into the granularity of that.
Because that was not the reaction wasn't, the reaction was to say, so yeah, it was quite an adverse reaction. Like you had videos made about you by Bolt Action creators. There's some Astra Militarum people, like there's people who only make videos about Astra Militarum, not Bolt Action, who I saw make videos responding to your video. Like a lot of the wargaming community seemed to see it as a little bit of an affront to them, which is an interesting...
It had a fantastic title and a fantastic opening line, right? Because the video was called The Big Problem with Historical Wargaming. And the opening line was, it's all fun and games until someone has to play the Nazis. At that point, a lot of people will just hit the pause button and leave a comment and leave a downvote and whatever, because that's all they're interested in.
Do you regret the title or the opening line? No.
Absolutely not.
It's a video. It's supposed to be a point of conversation, and it was. Do you know what I mean? One of the things that it revealed was that it confirmed my suspicions that I want absolutely nothing to do with that scene, because I had death threats.
Fucking Christ. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I suspected as much, but like you saying it, hearing you say it, like people, makes it reality.
People trying to dox me with old addresses, which is fortunate, but people trying to dox me. Yeah. It's
the doxing is worse because it shows action. Like death threats can be empty, but like when they start actually taking action and stuff.
Yeah, it's just not really something that I had expected. I was like, I wonder, there will obviously be like heated debate on it, right? But I was like, this is a talking point, right? This is like, how do you feel? And I kept asking in the video, I was like, what do you think? Like, how do you feel about this? Like, are we just overthinking this, or is this actually a thing? And people are like saying ridiculous things in the comments of stuff that I mention in the video. Like, I don't say like the only bad side was the Germans. Do you know what I mean? Because I literally say like,
so they've now developed stance. Yeah, they've developed your stance on history from what you've said.
Yeah. And the video itself was like quite heavily, what's the word? Not astroturfed. What's the word? It was basically targeted, right? So like an average video of mine would have like however many, at 100,000 views, which is like a good marker. At 100,000 views, you'd maybe have like between 6,000 and like 8,000 likes, maybe a couple of hundred dislikes, and maybe like I don't know, between 300 and 500 comments, just as an average on a 100,000 view video. At the point that hit 100,000 views, it had exactly the same stats. So it had like that 4, 5, 6,000 likes, and on top of that, it had like 2,500 dislikes, which is way more, right? And it also had 2,500 extra comments. So it was like you could just see the numbers. It was like everyone that went was just
even
like,
if not like, I'm not saying it wasn't targeted, I'm assuming it actually was, but even then, when you have a divisive video topic like that can get shared, especially if you are coming into direct conflict with a different scene or a different environment, they share it around, and then those people come in with the express plan of clicking that dislike button. And I'm not saying you planned that. I mean, there must have been an element of expectation for it.
I think
For context for people at home, by the way, so there isn't actual Nazi models in Bolt Action because they're not that dumb, and they're also not that explicitly, like, they're not trying to evoke that sort of thing. But there is like the SS and the Luftwaffe and all sorts of shit like that, or things that were like tools of the Nazis. So there is that discussion point around whether or not it's actually all right. Because I find this all fascinating. Because I think about this a lot with Warhammer, and Warhammer's like 7 steps removed from this, right? Because it's meant to be ironic and it's meant to be satire, but how successful it is at achieving those things is like a debate in itself. But I want to play Bolt Action because of the things you said. The rule system is meant to be very, very good, and when I've watched it played, it looks really good.
But
I would
happily give it a go. It's just not.
But then you've got this issue, right? So I've had problem encounters.
To your point, hold on.
Go on.
Just winding back to that point you made about the sort of the conflating Germans with Nazis in that context, in a war game, especially, the Second World War stuff. My granddad is German. He was born in Germany. He's
Interesting.
He was twins as well. Doesn't run in the male side of the family for some reason, even though I've got twins. It doesn't matter. But anyway, so he was a twin brothers, one of twin brothers, and they were born in Germany. And when I was growing up, he was like really, really very specific, and he fought in the RAF. He wasn't, he was just born in Germany, but then lived in England.
I assume that must not have been easy for him, and depending on his age, then.
Yeah, when he signed up, and they were like, papers, please, and it was like, my German ones or my.
Yeah, like for people who don't know, like there's historical accounts of like Dachshunds and German Shepherds being killed in the streets by Brits and stuff. Like the anti-German sentiment was violent and actually like very. Well, it extended to the pets, the dogs, and the breeds of animals that came from there. It's fucking crazy. But look at anyway.
And like when I was growing up, my granddad would be like really very specific and be like, it wasn't the Germans who did these horrible things. It was like Nazis and Nazism. They are like separate things because technically I'm German. Do you know what I mean? You have to differentiate. Like nationalities are not, belief structures and whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. And the whole thing's very, very...
He always went into quite deep conversations when I was 6.
I was going to say, how old were you when he was having this conversation?
Yeah.
There's all this, there's a lot of theorizing in historical discourse about who was involved and who was complicit. And if you were complicit, does that make you... I think the term that was coined was little Nazi, which is someone who wasn't wearing the gear, but they were aware that they were getting the job they were getting because someone else was turfed out of that job to be taken to a camp or whatever. So, it's incredibly complicated. And I'm not saying it's not. I'm just also saying that, I guess, just acknowledging that there aren't swastikas on tanks in the game unless you physically put them on there yourself. And B, the argument doesn't always hold up because those armies were tools or implements of that regime in a sense as well. But the point I was going to get to is that I've had really fucking shit encounters with Warhammer players and Warhammer people online and off who collect like Space Wolves or like Cadians, right? And they spent far too long getting into that headspace and like cosplaying as those characters online and stuff like that. So they just spent 200, 300 hours painting fictional fascists, right? Which is several steps removed. When they've spent 300, 400 hours painting up like the SS, and if they've actually got like Nazi regalia on there, they're like, it's for historical accuracy. Like it becomes like a real question around. I don't know. I feel with such suspicion, and that's more overt than what you said in the video, or at least what I remember you saying in the video. But I can't help but feel that way from engaging with the terrible parts of the Warhammer community. I can't imagine what certain parts of the Bolt Action community are like.
For sure, and and pretending those aspects don't exist in any hobby is ludicrous. Do you know what I mean?
It's almost impossible to do so if you're in an online space for Warhammer. You can ignore it in your local clubhouse because you might have a lot of people that are just normal people that play Warhammer. It's always nice when you meet those people. But in the online spaces where GW are actually like making statements and shit, And then we had all the fucking stuff about female custodies over the last couple of weeks of people like, it's just absolute madness. Some of the extent that people will go to.
Yeah, I mean, it was like a really tricky time. I'm not going to lie. That week after that video was difficult. And I was on holiday.
Did it fuck the holiday up? I imagine.
So, well, yeah, it absolutely did. But one of the benefits of it is I did absolutely claim the place I was staying on my taxes as an expense because I didn't leave.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was just working the whole time. So yeah.
Yeah, that's you mentioned earlier about like the work that social media influencing or content creation can do. Like sometimes I had an overspill of some stuff with people on my Discord. I won't go into details, but last night, so my evening was just like managing a mess on a Patreon associated thing, and like you said, your holiday was consumed by it. People don't see that part of it. They're like, oh, you get to paint models or play card games for a living. I'm like, yeah. But also I've got to deal with online hate campaigns when they say that there should be female space marines, you know? So, and that's another point. You mentioned death threats and doxing, and I had my most hateful shit come from making the female space marine video. I've never had that level of hate from the card game communities of like Magic or anything adjacent, and that kind of is telling about war game communities that there's still a lot of work to do.
I think it's telling about society in general, to be honest. I'm not saying.
Yeah. I mean, the point I'm saying is that like I guess, and when we say card game, let's just narrow that right down to Magic. Is that community's done a very good job of like. It feels like it's years ahead of other communities in terms of like a lot of the people that will dox you or send you death threats, they aren't welcome in the normal online spaces. It does push them to the fringes and there's arguments about radicalization and shit. But I'm just saying that Magic is so miles ahead. So whenever I jump to a different area, another card game or Warhammer or wargaming in general, I'm always surprised by how much shit that gets to pass. Like people posting in a Facebook group about, can I paint my models with these SS logos? And people are like, no, what the fuck are you on about?
When you get to a certain level of notoriety, that's a reasonable enough word. You get threats from everything. Like when the Russia-Ukraine conflict started, or escalated, whatever. And I sold some Primaris-sized Terminators that I'd painted up in a video. I sold them to benefit various charities, right?
Sure, yeah.
It's like Amnesty International, Médecins Sans Frontières, and the creator who actually like made the models themselves that were based in Ukraine, I got like threats from that for like supporting Ukraine, and I was like, I'm not supporting Ukraine, I'm supporting like anti-war charities, and somebody that had their like studio bombed. I don't think that's I don't think that's like being political, to be honest. And then when I think, what was it, last year? Or I can't remember exactly when it was. Maybe it was last year, when the video game Atomic Heart came out, and I had a video that had a sponsorship of Atomic Heart. Got actual threats because, they're
like, Russian-based or whatever.
Part Russian game developer. And I was like, you can't win. Like, it's like, I'm not supporting anyone. I'm not supporting anyone. I'm just, And
but you were not on the Atomic Hearts front, but on the other one you were supporting people. Like to say you weren't supporting people is incorrect. Exactly. It's absolutely okay. To support the human rights of others, or the right to not have their studio bombed, or the right to exist in current society. But again, like
I'm
I said,
not making any statements on whether or not whose side I'm on, or like who I approve of, or like what I think of the geopolitical situation in that area. I'm just like, wow, this is a horrible thing. I'm going to support these charities that help people. Yeah. What a dick.
It is society in general, but I still stand by the fact that Magic as a community has done a very good job of not giving these people places to feel justified in the way they act, where unfortunately we still have that with Warhammer. We still have like just nonsense shit being spouted because, again, I guess it's just war, not just war gaming. I think war stuff. So like war fiction, like war. What's the word I'm looking for? There's like science fiction that often touched onto like military fiction, like Dune through to like stuff like that. Warhammers are one of those. Those things often have adjacency to people online, influencers online, what I call right-wing chuds, the people who are normally grifting, that don't even believe the shit they're spewing, but it allows other people to feel justified or allowed to act the way they do when sending death threats. Like, I got a lot of shit from Warhammer videos where I've also been in the progressive space of what I've said about magic stuff, and normally I'll get shitty comments, but I'll never get like a 4chan thread about me or someone wishing me dead. It's just an interesting position. And maybe that's not even a criticism of wargaming. It might actually be a positive about magic, honestly. It might just be like a cultivation of that space has been good over the last 5-10 years. So there's a bit of that.
The thing is, I just feel like maybe I'm stupid for wanting to believe that like most people are good people and nice, like deep down.
I don't think that's stupid, no. And I think it's probably true for the most part.
Maybe naive, but I feel like when I said society as a whole, I didn't mean like everything's, crap and everything's terrible. What I kind of meant was there's a lot of divisive, like intentionally divisive and tribalistic
stuff.
Yeah.
At the moment, with
the news that is given to everyone, the social media that everyone is involved with. You don't have to pick sides. Like, honestly, like I don't think any of my friends have the same political views that I do. I don't think that people know what my political views are. I'm not open really about them online. I'm quite guarded about them because they're very mixed. Do you know what I mean? Like, life is complex. There's no black and white answer to everything. Everything is grey and morally ambiguous.
Yeah, I mean, I agree to a wider extent. There are certain topics that I don't think are that grey. Like for example, like trans rights, for example, is something where I don't really. I'm not trying to needle you on this, by the way. We've got into a really heavy topic, but like. That is something where I don't feel that there is much room to give much greyness, if you will. It's not like, oh, the other side's got a point. They might be trying to use our bathrooms to get to our kids. Like, it's just nonsense. Like you said, it's divisive stuff. No. Instead of letting other human beings live in that capacity, it's political points are made by certain individuals, whether that be the grifting social media influencer or the politician, if we look at those sort of sides of things, to basically weaponize opinions or divide and conquer in a sense. So some things are grey, but there are some things that I just can't see. Like, we can disagree about food, we can disagree about some economic policy, but when it comes to like cutting off like healthcare for like minorities or whatever, like there's certain things that I just don't think are that grey.
If yes, I think there's like quite a good point to make where with a lot of things. Say, you mentioned like trans rights. When you have like a society where the pendulum has been very far one way for a very long time, and it like starts swinging the other way, you're gonna have like pushback, right?
Sure. And
there is an equilibrium to be found, and at no point during its movement is everyone going to be comfortable. That's the thing. That's just how it's boring. That's just how life works and how like conversations about difficult subjects work. And there will be an equilibrium found at some point, like there is on everything, and things that you don't even think about as being like moral issues that everyone is just kind of, oh yeah, that's just the way things are. That 99% of everyone agrees on. Those have been like big pendulum swinging things in the past. Do you know what I mean? Like whether or not to like just randomly kill people if you don't like them. That was a thing that most people now are just like, yeah, you don't do that because it's not part of like a good society to live in. Yeah, it's a tricky one. I'm a very big opponent of people stopping talking and people who have like very different viewpoints about things. If people shut people off and stop talking to people and having decent human real conversations with people, that's only going to enforce the tribalism. Do you know what I mean? I feel like people should always be open to people's ideas. Like I said, my group of friends, like I've got like really like essentially neo-Marxists and kind of quite right-wing people, and we all sit and like have fun and chats and like talk to each other about life things, and we have changed each other's opinions on certain issues because we have adult, mature, and open conversations about these things.
Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
but I mean, there's an element that online spaces don't really facilitate that. Like from your Twitter with very few characters and letters through to, because you mentioned something about shutting people off, and I agree. But there is, like you mentioned earlier, about divisive rhetoric and people, creating divide that people have to join either side for. And unfortunately, that is kind of how online discourse works because of figureheads and head points. Yeah, like, so I don't, to go right back to the point about, like, I don't think people are bad or evil. I don't think that at all. And evil's not the right word, but so I think a lot, like, at the moment, we talked about this in the first episode of the podcast, talking about the female custodies debate. There's a lot of people that don't really care that much, but they feel like their hobby is... Go on.
Did you see the poll that I put on the YouTube community page?
No.
I thought it was really eye-opening, actually, because there's such a huge... This is like the most chatter there's ever been about an issue in the hobby since I've been in it, I feel like. Do you know what I mean? The most, like, divisive issue.
What's your stance on it before we move on out of interest? How do you feel about them putting women into the custodies?
I am neither here nor there. I can understand that people who are, like, real devout followers of the law might be a bit miffed that there's been a retcon, but among all of the other retcons, as somebody who is, like, dedicated their profession essentially to helping people get into a hobby that I love, I think it's great. I can't, like, if you put yourself in real life positions, which is where I think people often forget actually exist. I've sat and I've helped, tween boys and girls get into Warhammer.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like doing, like, little painting sessions at gaming clubs and stuff. And, in a real life situation, if there was a girl that was like, I want to, collect this cool gold army because I love the gold things and the big armor, that's cool. And I love their weapons with the guns on the spears. Can they be women? Like, can I make them as women? I'd be like, yeah, of course you can. The hobby. Warhammer and all games, everything is a framework to have fun. It's toys. It's a rule set to play a game, to have fun. The law is like the animations were for Transformers. It's a medium to sell the toys, to make a company money. Don't be precious about it. It's a framework to have fun. If you're not having fun, something's wrong. Do you know what I mean? Enjoy yourself. Enjoy your life. Be kind to other people. That was what we got to in the first episode. But I can absolutely understand people being like, oh, this is a big change. Like, this is a thing that I've been following.
But like you said, among many retcons, though, right? And this is the problem we got to in the first episode. So Mikey was talking about it just being stuff to sell toys and stuff. And also, as someone who likes literature and art and stuff as an English lit major, I also appreciate that some of these books might have a bit more of a profound attachment. I am doing that. I mean, you can tell. No, but it's I get that people might be attached to these things. But like Mikey was talking about how it's to sell toys. You're saying how it's to sell toys. It is to sell toys. And the retcons are really common and consistent to both sell toys and also just to adjust things as time goes on. So the argument that everyone gets onto about retcons are bad and they're really gaslighting us and lying to us, that has always been there. It's like, that point is a straw man. It's not real. It's a point and an imagined point that is drummed home. We're going back to that point about social media influencing and the rage baiting and the divisive tactics. It's people giving a not very good house to voice your problems. So a young kid, let's say a young man, you or me 20 years ago when we first got into Warhammer, 25 years ago or whatever, and the hobby's doing something's happening to the hobby that we don't quite like or understand, we can't put words to it. So we log onto YouTube to try and watch someone put words to it, and the first thing we get is like, they're putting women in and it's the woke that's causing the issues, and they get given this language immediately and they just buy into it because it gives voice to their concerns, even if it's not quite the concerns they naturally had. And that's the point where, like, I'm not saying to shut those people up. I don't think censorship is the correct action, but I also think it's very good to, we have to fight back against that thing in a way, fight being a word that I don't like to use there, because you can't just let there be a drum up of hate and controversy and drama baiting every time a change happens, every time a woman's introduced, every time a black main character shows up on a book cover. Like, it's crazy that those things are still issues that we're dealing with in 2024. but we evidently are.
Yeah, it is a difficult thing, isn't it? And it's really, like I said, I feel bad about like tarring
all of the people who feel a bit miffed about it with the same brush.
Sure.
You know what
I mean, there
Because
are
there's,
like some people are way more extreme. Some people are just like, that feels a bit like a lazy retcon, and like this is just
another turn
But
off, and
I
then
genuinely
feel like
believe I'm going to tar them with the same brush here. I don't. It's just not a lazy retcon, is it? Or if it is, there's the argument is if you're going to say it's a lazy retcon, we can just say that about everything. Like the Rogel Dawn tank existing is a lazy retcon, like is one of the examples. So like that. A lot of those arguments just don't really hold a lot of water or weight. There's got to be something behind it. So when you say it's a lazy retcon, like why do you feel that way? Unpack it for us. And
To be honest,
if people want Brotherhood in their miniatures, they can still have Brotherhood in their miniatures. Like you can just paint all your men and not have to include women.
Yeah, I mean, loads of the arguments that you see about it just don't. They're nonsense as well. Not being mean to people because maybe you just have been misguided into thinking certain things are a certain way, but like people saying it's a brotherhood of demigods, it's like, yeah, but what about the Brotherhood of Steel? Like that's men and women, it's everyone. It's just a word. Like a brotherhood is a religion. Do you know what I mean? It's not just
and that's not to say that like brotherhood as a concept or like the bonding between men is not something that should be explored in art or literature. I just also think that the majority of Warhammer literature isn't really exploring that either. It just happens to be two men fighting, you know? I think some of the heresy stuff does, but...
Yeah, goddamn, like a lot of the... I'm not being mean here, but a lot of the Black Library novels that I've read have been boring. Like,
there are some
books,
absolutely.
As books, do you know what I mean? As novels, like I don't have a lot of time to spend. I'm very busy, and like if I want to spend 15 hours listening to an audiobook, there's that brilliant meme I used in a video ages ago that was it's just that compilation of Hulk Hogan saying "brother," do you know what I mean? with like Space Marines dialogue, brother, you gotta drink your own sweat to survive, brother.
It's got to be modeled after that, right? That's what I think all Marines are modeled after is the Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, doing their promos.
Well, that's what the Primarchs are, right? They're superheroes or wrestlers. That's basically where they're at. What is your exactly? I'm not saying that wasn't a criticism, guy. That was a compliment. Being wrestlers and superheroes is cool. Like that's absolutely fine. What is your allegiance on Marines? I don't actually know what your pick is for like a Primarch or a sub-faction. I don't even know.
I don't care about Space Marines.
Is that why I don't know then?
Bored of Space Marines. If I had to choose, I'd probably go Blood Angels or Dark Angels. I had Blood Angels when I was a kid.
Yeah, because you're a second edition boy like me.
Yeah. But it was literally because of that. Do you know what I mean? I was like, that's cool. I want the red ones.
My best friend's got the Templar army now and back then because of third edition box. There's no other reason. What is your faction of choice? If you had to pick one to build and paint up and play with tomorrow.
Orcs.
Yes.
Yeah, they're great. You can have fun customizing them and kit bashing them. Their rules are silly. I haven't looked into the new codex, but I assume there's still some fun to them.
Oh, it's incredible. Like it's not only is it powerful, but there's six sub factions and they're all flavorful. You can play like Massive Swarm, you can play Elite, you can play Speed War. There's one for Grots, there's one for Goblin Tanks. How good is?
I feel like orcs are a faction that remind you it's a game.
Yes,
it's a bit of fun. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
When you play and do things.
On that note,
they're fun to build, they're fun to customize, fun to paint, fun to play.
On that note, I'm going to hammer you with some more questions for our final section of the podcast, which is going to be questions from the audience, essentially. And the thing is, I got some, and I didn't actually narrow them down, so I'm going to grab them live whilst we're talking. And I won't edit this out because it makes it more raw.
Oh my God.
All right, here's one for you. Naturally coming on from the previous question. Is there a hobby, and this also ties into the not wanting to paint Nazis thing. Has there ever been a hobby-related reason that you've avoided a faction you were interested in? Model counts too high, push on table sculpts too old, too problematic, etc., etc. Is there anything in particular you've avoided for a reason?
I mean, apart from Space Marines, they just don't interest me much as a thing.
Well, what is the reason they don't interest you, I guess? So that is your answer then, as Marines, but why?
Quite boring to paint. I'd imagine it would be quite boring to paint a lot of them. And when I paint armies, I tend to paint a lot of infantry. I tend to like have infantry-based armies. I'm not like, one infantry squad and loads of vehicles. That's not what I like about Warhammer. I'm, like a mass carnage kind of person. I imagine it'd be quite boring to paint. Lore-wise, I'm just not that like big, muscly, crazy monks in power armor. It's like that's a cool concept, but like there's a lot. I feel like there's a lot more interesting things in Warhammer that deserve to be explored.
And
also, everyone is doing it.
That was the next question. Are you countercultural? Are you like countercultural? Are you like, if everyone else is doing it, I want to be listening to Cradle of Filth and playing the...
It's literally me. That's literally me. Like, I'm the biggest, contrarian you can find. I literally play devil's advocate all the time. Which is why, again, that goes back to the point of like, I don't think I've ever even like expressed what my actual political opinions are on things, but like I will talk about stuff and I'll like try to have conversations with people about things because I think people deserve to be heard and deserve to speak and whatever. But yeah, not when they send me death threats. That's not cool.
No, exactly. And people do deserve to, but people also deserve to exist. So when that's where I draw the line on letting other people have different opinions. But back on this again, we're meant to be talking about whether you don't like Space Marines or not, but you've jumped back to, we can go back to it, it's cool.
Sorry.
No, don't apologise. I think it's interesting that you were still in that headspace, I think. No, like other opinions are absolutely valid. We can disagree on many a thing, but when it comes to like other human beings' rights to exist or access like general healthcare or amenities, that's when I'm drawing a line, right? Or the right to protest right now. Like you can even disagree with what students are protesting about, but sending in armed police to stop them.
I'm very pro protest. I think you should always support protesters because if they're going out of their way to actually protest a thing, you should, no matter what it is. Do you know what I mean?
And you also have a right after the protest to think they're dickheads as well, right? Yeah. Like you can hate Stop Oil if you want. You can hate the trucker rally in Canada that was against masks and vaccines and stuff, which was, again, a lot of young men just listening to politicians tell them lies. There's a lot of that going on as well. Sometimes people can be.
You have to support. Yeah, you have to support people's right to protest and right to voice their dissension. And yeah,
that wasn't even a question any of my patrons asked.
It's a good one though, wasn't it?
Okay, here's a protesting one then. If you could wave your hand and delete one faction from existence, assuming you had to at gunpoint. You're at gunpoint now.
Custodes, just to get rid of this stupid conversation.
Get fucked! I love Custodes. How dare you?
I find Custodes the most boring faction.
You can't.
They're like the epitome of Space Marines, right? Just get rid of them. I don't care about them. They've only been introduced since I was in the hobby anyway as a playable faction.
And not according to these people who care about lore, Guy. They've been saying it's 30... You're ruining 30 years worth of lore, and now you're saying they're relatively new. I agree they are relatively new. Also, deleting them to get rid of that conversation, I think the conversation has to be had. I think it's very telling about the state of the game and the world to have this fucking conversation.
Yeah. I'm quite non-confrontational. I just want everyone to get along.
But sometimes you need a bit of confrontation. Like the protest. Protest is inherently not... Do you love how every question is going back to the philosophical or the political here? But protest itself is conflict. Like, it has to be. It doesn't have to be in conflict with armed police officers. But the Custodians
I'd love to spend a whole evening with you, Vince, and drink and chat about...
I mean, I've offered it. We can still do that. We can still do that. We can film one locally down your end after a few drinks. That'd be terrible, but...
100%.
The Custodes being super, though, helps to contextualize the Marines. I think it's good to have something stronger and better than the Marines.
I think, yeah. I mean, I think I'd be more interested in Space Marines if they were more like they were in the earliest editions.
Oh yeah, well they were absolute psychopaths. Like the word death tattooed on their foreheads.
Yeah. Like a bit insane, more insane.
Like if the Custodes were the honourable like warrior monks as a juxtaposition, and the Marines were where the tech doesn't quite work and they're just deranged, I think that'd be a much cooler. Because you are right, Custodes are just like they aren't Marines turned up to 11 really, because Marines are still all very like a bit stoic, a bit warrior monk, and I'm like, that's not that fun.
Yeah, but tabletop wise as well, there's no way, like, Space Marines should be what Custodes are. Do you know me? Or the other way around? No. Space Marines should play like the Custodes are in the game. Yeah. Because there's, like, realistically, if you have a squad of 10 Space Marines going up against, what? How many Imperial Guards would you need to get rid of them, really? 30?
Well, maybe more,
that's kind of even match. Yeah. With a couple of heavy weapons, and then they're gone. And it's like, well, that's, like... If you've read any of the books, it's not like that. Do you know what I mean? So how But
There was a point at the end of ninth.
actually, we're timesing by 10 all of the points for Space Marines Codex because no one would buy any Space Marines anymore because they already have plenty.
Like from a balancing perspective, they keep reducing the points. So, at the end of ninth, there's two interesting points here for tabletop to a law. One, they reduced the points of the Marines so much that they became a horde army. Like I played in a tournament where I had more models than like my opponent's Necron army because I just had such cheap Marines. So it's just nonsense. Yeah. Two, when the 9th edition Codex dropped for Custodes, they were so unbelievably broken that it was like law accurate for a small amount of time. Like, you just could not kill them. And I played a tournament with them, and I felt like I was the real Custodes. My opponents also felt like I was the real Custodes and weren't very happy, but it fit. It fit.
You sprayed your face gold. You're like, yeah.
Okay, so you said you haven't played much recently. So here's a question for you. I should read out who asked the questions. That's probably oh, fuck. I think it was Watchwolf for the first one. Sorry, Watchwolf. You probably sat there moulding that I didn't read you out. You've paused the video to comment down below and dox me, and then I've said your name later. And the other question was from Scion. This question we're going to take from Metachemist. 9th edition feels like it came and went in the blink of an eye. It was released in October 2020, and then 10th edition launched in June 2023. So that's less than 3. Is that less than 3 years? Yes. Do you think 10th will also have such a short lifespan, and do you think that's bad for the hobby?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel with each new edition, I feel like the incentive is lessened to invest heavily my time in it because by the time I've researched it and I'm talking as a content creator here, not as a personal person playing a game. If I wasn't making videos and documenting my hobby, sure, I would get into it and it would be fine. But I just feel like because I want to create things that are interesting for people always and that are interesting, entertaining watches for people, no matter when you watch them, right?
Evergreen is something that we should aim for, right? This is something that I'm very bad at in Magic because the release schedule for Magic is 10 times faster than Warhammer. So I can't,
And like battle reports, the way I make battle reports takes a lot of time because they are very intensely filmed and edited and cut down. So like a large battle report that takes like 3 hours, it might take you an hour and a half to play. In real life, it takes like 5 hours to play because you're filming everything and like making sure everything is
I did a couple of battle reports and they weren't heavily edited like yours, and they still took me over a day to make and over 2 days to edit. Like it was insane.
Yeah. My learn to play 40k video, for example, the newest one, probably took me about 200 hours in total.
Did it perform?
It's doing well. Yeah.
Okay, so worth it in the end, right? All that human time, your mortal coil shedding away, and what did you get? A little bit of ad revenue and some views, a couple of subscribers. It's all worth it in the end, I'm sure.
Ideally, I want to, if I'm investing that much time in things, I want it to be something that people will enjoy for years, not for a year and a half. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so how to play videos are actually a really rough investment.
And battle reports as well. You know, if it's not the current rule set, people are just like, yeah, I mean, I know it's going to be entertaining, but it's not going to teach me to play. And, I'm going to constantly be thinking, oh, that's wrong. They got that wrong.
Have you done any battle reports that are like really rules light and like fluffy and lore heavy? Because I feel there's a space for that because no one truly does it.
I did some. I did a really fun one with Dave, Mini Wargamer Dave, when he came to the UK in, when was it, like 2022, something like that. And he had been on like a really big UK tour and was tired. He was tired. He was a tired man. He was jet lagged and he'd been like run off his feet doing events and like doing loads of things. We planned this big battle report and I had these armies ready to go and the table was all set up. And he came to my house and I was like, Dave, should we just like do Gazgol versus Abaddon with like an elite unit each?
Oh, I think I watched that.
Just a bit of fun. It'll be like a 15-minute battle report max. Bit of fun. And he was like, yes, please. And I was like, and then I'll cook you dinner and you can have a relax. And he was like, yes, please. I love you, guy. I was like, that's okay, buddy.
Yeah, I think there's a space for that. Because like, especially with someone who's got the resources to make, how Play On do all the effects and stuff. I think, and Broadsword Wargaming did some stuff with Zorpazor where he did heresy stuff, and it was all parts of the lore, and that was really good. I don't think but I think the amount of effort they put in, the return wasn't there. Because like I've said this about my gameplay videos in Magic, where I cut them up and make them into basically like comedy bits, and they take like I don't know. I've spent 50 to 100 hours on some of those things, and then if one underperforms, it just and then the mental load of that as well. There's nothing quite like putting in hundreds of hours of work into something for it to do worse than something that you spent 2 hours on, which is just a common occurrence for me at one point. And I was like, I can't keep doing this. It's gonna fucking burn me out.
Yeah. One of the funniest stories I've got for the whole channel is like one of my most popular videos I've ever done. It might be the most popular. The second most popular is the speed painting Ultramarines, right? That was basically, it was the first time I ever chatted to Scott, the Miniature Maniac. Chatted to him on
Skype.
I fucking love Miniac. I've never interacted with him. So if someone sees this and knows Scott, I did this last episode. If you know Miniac, let him know that I want to talk to him because I fucking love Scott.
I love him. He's such a nice guy. I met him in real life, and he's
Great.
Oh, just dropping that in there, like my degree.
So he's such a nice guy, though. Honestly, he's tall. He's as tall as me. I didn't expect that.
He looks. How tall are you?
6'3".
You're taller than me. Wow, we're all taller than we think, but then I'm less tall.
It's because everyone looks small on camera, right?
There's that, and when I meet American viewers, Americans are like, I think on average shorter than Brits. So whenever they meet me, they're like, "You're tall." I'm like, well, I've been 6'1" for like fucking I don't know 20 years or whatever it's been. But
Yeah, we get that when we go to when we go to events as well, because like Hattie's tall, and when she's like standing next to me doing a presenty bit for a video, and she's like almost 6 foot. But she doesn't look that much smaller than me. Do you know what I mean? So you kind of like looking at these two people like, well, that's a woman and that's a dude. So maybe they're, I don't know, maybe they're like 5'9", whatever average heights. And then like you go to an event and we're both really tall and you're like, Jesus. We get a lot of people going like, I didn't realize you were quite as tall as you were. Like, haha, mortal.
But you were saying about your Ultramarine video,
Yeah. So I was chatting to Scott. And he was like, we had a really nice conversation about loads of stuff. And then he was like, I'd really like to get you involved in this charity paint thing that I'm doing. So I'm going to teach people how to paint the Sisters of Battle. Someone else is going to teach people how to make another army. I need someone to do Ultramarines. Would you be up for that? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Just let me know when. And he was like, well, it's this date right here. So, make a note of that. And I was like, will do, Scott. And then, fast forward 4 months and I'd absolutely forgotten about it. And then he messaged me on this was like the video was supposed to be out on the Friday. He phoned me and was like, how's the Ultramarines video coming? And I'm like, yeah, good. And this was on the Monday or whatever, the Tuesday, I think it was actually. And I was like, shit. So I've got to like research how to paint Ultramarines, like figure out a method that's uniquely mine. And then, so I did that on the Wednesday and then I filmed it on the, researched that during I was working another job as well at the time. I wasn't doing this full time then. And then in the evening on the Wednesday, I painted it, and then after work on the Thursday, I edited the video, put it out on Friday morning, and now it's got like 1.4 million views or something.
That
it's about 5 hours work total.
It fucking hurts as well though in that.
I know.
Like it fucking hurts. For the longest time, one of my videos was a 2-minute meme edit that took me like 20 minutes. And it was my first 100k video ever, and I was just so like, can't I do this more often? Is this not a thing I can ever? But yeah, it's incredible, but it's also a bit disheartening when you put all the effort into the other things. It also makes it feel a bit like I feel this all the time anyway because this is who I am as a human. But you're flying by the pant and you seat your pants and you don't really know what the fuck you're doing.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, I think this video do really well, and you put all the effort into, it does abysmal, and you're like, well, what the fuck do I know?
I think most people who are self-employed, that's exactly what is happening to them all the time.
Yeah. I used to work in a bank and deal with self-employed people a lot when they're getting mortgages, and a lot of them just fucking, I think it's all fake it till you make it, but no one ever makes it. So everyone's just faking it like 24/7 for the rest of their lives. But to answer your question, Metachemist, I think we both are going to agree. I'm not going to add too much to it, but the churn over of editions is too fast. Although I do like rules changing regularly because I think it keeps things interesting. It's kind of boring to play the same.
Big tangent. That was embarrassingly big tangent.
No, it's fine. I prefer that. I think the topics are more interesting. Because I haven't asked you that many questions about content. I'm not sure how interesting that is for people at home. It might be a thing that maybe I get you back and we actually talk exclusively about content for like an hour and a half. But I think that was interesting. We'll do one more. And this time, you can tangent as much as you want. So, I'm pausing because that question, I'm not going to do that question right now. Okay. Mike Geeney asks, an important question for the show. If you had to choose a painted model in your collection to come to life, you had to fight to the death right now, which model are you choosing to fight to the death?
I don't have it anymore, but I painted a bunny.
That's probably where I'm going with this. I painted a little wizard version of my Dachshund, Bruce. And of all the things I painted, it sounds horrible, but I think I could fight a Dachshund to death more likely than anything from 40k.
Easily.
Like,
Yeah.
or maybe, an objective marker. I reckon I could fight.
I think it has to be animate, right? You can't be just a passive.
I can't just be punching, hammering away at a small teleportation marker for a Terminator.
I mean, you've painted a Nurgling, surely, right?
I reckon Nurglings would be impossible. Because you might fight it to the death, but then it might come back later from the war, because you can't kill a Nurgling. They just forever exist.
A Hulk Hogan leg drop. Boom.
A Gretchen.
Yeah, Gretchen, sure.
Okay, would you rather fight Guy of Midwinter Minis, one Gretchen from the Warhammer 40k universe, or one trained guardsman?
I'll die against a guardsman, Jesus.
Do you reckon? But guardsman,
What, an actual soldier?
but he has the same stats in 40k. Like, the goblin has one less toughness. They move the same, they shoot the same, they're on 4s, I think. In
this hypothetical, are we melee range or are we ranged?
at range, I wouldn't choose the guardsman because he's a trained shooter.
Why would you choose a professional soldier in this thing?
Hang on, but for a Gretchen to even make it... Okay, hear me out. For a Gretchen to make it to the battlefield, Guy, they've had to survive within the Orc War, where when they aren't fighting other people, they fight each other. Gretchen are both... They're food sources, they're like fighting practice. Not even
They're plentiful and expendable, and they're tiny, I reckon. They're only the
the
size
battlefield have made it through that expendable gauntlet of hazards.
Yeah, but they're only the size of a dog, right? And I would take a big dog, an angry green troll boy, over a trained human soldier. Yes. I know actual soldiers, and I would never ever want to anger them.
Sure. But I'm also thinking that if I knew an actual goblin, I probably wouldn't want to anger a goblin either.
Yeah.
I'm not disputing that trained soldiers aren't trained to fight. I'm just... my argument is I think goblins in the 41st millennium might be nearly as scary.
Are you just trying to are you trying to convince me to say I would fight a guardsman? Is that what you want me to say?
No.
What I want you to say out loud is I would happily fight a goblin.
I would happily fight a goblin.
There you go. We got that for the clip at the beginning. Yeah. Right.
I'm going to look straight at the camera. I would happily fight a goblin.
There we go. Thanks for coming on, Guy. I think that was fun. Let me know in the comment section down below, chat, whether you'd fight Acadian guardsman, fresh out of the academy, or one goblin boy. I normally do the thing where you plug, but if people have watched Warhammer content, there's no way the algorithm hasn't recommended you to them, because you've got to be one of the big boys in the algo now. But if people don't know, what is your channel called?
It's called Midwinter Minis.
There we go. That's it.
I make approachable, beginner-friendly painting tutorials and playing videos about mostly Warhammer, but some other games as well.
You're also on the woke list too. So did you see the post?
No, I don't go on X. It's just.
But you're in the woke side of things. I don't even know if they said what your crime was. Maybe it's the Ukraine thing. But yeah, you're on the green side, so you share. You're in good company with Goobertown. You're with Mikey. There's a lot of good people.
I haven't seen it. I don't follow it. The only thing somebody said to me was like, yeah, you're on the side of creators that actually make videos.
Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of what I was getting at. That's what I was getting at. Is that you are on the side of people that actually make hobby content. So if you like green wokies, like Midwinter Minis, check him out. Although you've definitely fucking seen his shit if you're watching anything Warhammer related on YouTube. Unless you're fresh here from Magic. That is a possibility, I guess.
Maybe. There is a distinct possibility, though, that some people might have only watched the bolt action video, because it's one of the sort of better performing videos of the last year.
That is interesting.
If that's the only video you've seen, I would encourage you to
just check out some of my other videos.
There may be a few viewers of this because of how this works who've come across from Magic specifically, right? So they have no wargaming experience. They think they're getting into Warhammer. That's why they've watched this with me. And but they've still heard about your bolt action video because it showed up tangentially in some sort of forum somewhere. That's that guy who hates Nazis, hates bolt action because he thinks they're all Nazis.
Yeah. And it's like I've made 250 videos, right? And my Learn to Play 40k videos have got like 5 million views between them. It's like, why are people only caring about this one video? Where I was like, huh.
Because your personal politics are important to people.
Maybe this is like a tricky game to play because it's based on real life. Boo! Smash that cancel button.
Yeah. You said the bit that some people don't like people to say, that the Nazis were a problem and playing as them makes you feel uncomfortable. That's difficult for some people to pass for some reason. I wonder why.
Oh, well.
Oh, that's it. We've ended on a political point too. We kept going back to it, so we thought we'd do one more. Thanks for coming on, Guy. If you like the video, don't forget to like it and all that shit, and I'll see you in the next one. Ta-ta for now.
Bye.